And she's a pit bull. She just.
Good morning, everybody. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Could we have a motion to accept the minutes of the previous meeting? Cassie moves it, Dan Shaw seconds.
I'll second. Go ahead.
Daryl second it. Any comments? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Joe, is Joe on?
Yep.
Goes on.
Okay, there you are. Okay, Joe, go ahead.
First thing I need is a budget amendment. Excuse me. Again, excuse me. For a trailer, we budgeted for the purchase of a skid steer, and we were kind of hoping to be able to pick something up off auction, but changed our mind. We'd like to purchase a trailer so we can take that out to job sites when we need to, and possibly out to compost at times. We've got pricing on that, so I need a $6,000 moved out of general fund, out of our fund balance, I'm sorry, into 8120.2 equipment line.
Is there a motion to do that? Brian makes a motion. Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
Daryl seconds it. Is there any discussion on this? Brian?
What's the total cost of the trailer?
$6,001.
Okay, so tell me how this ties in with the skid steer.
I don't know why, but I'm having trouble hearing you guys, and I've got my volume cranked right up.
How does it fit with the skid steer? You're talking about not getting a skid steer now. How much money do you get?
We purchased the skid steer. It's supposed to be delivered sometime in April, I think, the end of April. It was budgeted. The skid steer was budgeted. We didn't budget for a trailer. My mistake.
So the skid steer just costs more because you didn't buy one at all? I'm trying to put your story together.
No.
They bought the skid steer, Brian, and they need a trailer to move it. They thought they were going to buy a trailer at auction cheaper. It didn't work out.
That's what happened to them. Okay. So you're just trying to buy a trailer now to move it around.
Yep.
Fair enough.
My question, Brian, does this have to go for bid or not? Something like this? I don't know.
Actually, with the prices that we got, I'm told, I haven't personally researched it. 'Cause I have my collections guy get the bids together and put them together. And that's what I told him, was get state contract bids. Evidently, this one's cheaper than a state contract bid. I don't know why, but 14,000 pound trailer.
We didn't catch all that, Joe.
It's a 14,000 GVW trailer. So, and I don't know how or why it's under state contract pricing, but it is. I'm told. And don't worry, that'll all get vetted through. Bob won't let that go unless it's true.
Right, but it doesn't matter if it's cheaper than state contract. It matters if it complies with our purchasing policy.
Right. It just has to be procured right, but yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Quotes and,
What's up?
Yeah,
Please,
so being that the price is around $6,000, there will have to be 3 written bids.
Yep.
Prices for that, quotes
Right.
at least.
we've got that.
Good.
Okay. All right, so
And
we have a
Joe-
motion. Dana?
I'm sorry, we don't have discussion yet, do we? Even though Brian's.
Yeah, we're
doing
still on
discussion.
discussion.
Is this something that a municipality that's in the sewer district, like Lake George, Granville, one of those municipalities, that they could do a shared services? Maybe they have a trailer. Joe, how frequently does the skid steer get moved around?
That remains to be seen.
I mean, if it's infrequent movement, maybe one of those municipalities that's part of that sewer district could do a shared service.
Well, Lake George and Granville aren't part of the sewer district. And we're gonna be using it here at the plant, and we'll be using it out in the street when we do repairs and things like that on the street.
Frequent then.
Relatively frequently, I would say, yes.
Matt,
Joe, this was approved by the commissioners?
Yes, sir.
Daryl,
And actually, we had discussion with the village of Port Edward on jointly buying a trailer because they need one, but the sizing of what they need is a little bit, it's a bit bigger than what we need. So it was decided to get our own and move forward. We can also use it to bring our mower to the pump stations like we do and things like that.
did you have a question, Daryl?
Yes, Joe, you stated earlier, I believe, just for clarification, that you had fund balance in your general fund to cover this, correct?
I said general fund, I meant fund balance. There's an O&M fund balance. We have an O&M fund balance, and we have a capital reserves. The dollar amount for the trailer is not enough to use capital reserves, so I have to use fund balance.
Thank you.
Okay, any more discussion? All in favor of moving the money, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, on to the next, Joe.
A budget amendment, I need to move, excuse me, $50,000 of capital reserves into a line for the feasibility study that we've initiated. It was something that we got approved last year, bid out, and we've got EDP working on that now. I've got to fund that line.
Move it.
Brian made the motion, is there a second? Cassie seconds, Daryl seconds. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Joe.
We need, all of the buildings here at the treatment plant have 35-year-old roofs on them. The solids building roof had a major catastrophe a couple of seasons ago, and actually it was probably a year ago now, and we've got to get that replaced. We are piggybacking with the county's General Engineering Services Group, ME Engineering. They've put together estimates for that. We budgeted for that in this year's O&M budget. I need to move forward with the bids for the roof. We also approved, or we also budgeted for the HVAC system in the admin building to be replaced. Back in whenever it was that I put it in July before the, in the budgeting process. As we are putting all of this information together for these two things, the admin building roof is leaking fairly extensively when we crawled up in there to look at the HVAC stuff. So I'm adding, I would like to add that, and the commissioners agree, to this scope of work with ME, and I need permission to go to bid for the admin building, HVAC and roof, and the solids building roof. I will most likely, once the bids come in, I will most likely have to come back and do a budget amendment if the admin building roof is outside of what we budget, way outside of what we budgeted. I don't think it's going to be. It's not a big building. I think we can most likely absorb that in our O&M budget.
Okay, do we need just one motion, Deb, or two on this? Is it one big project, Joe, or is it split into two? I mean, I don't.
The roofing will most likely be one bid. and the HVAC will be another.
Is there a motion to,
Make the motion, put out the bid.
all right, Brian makes a motion, put them out to bid, Kathy seconds, Daryl seconds,
And
Paul seconds. Anybody got questions, discussion?
if I might add, just a heads up, there are 1, 2, 3 more buildings that may need roofs over the next 3 to 5 years. Well, they all need roofs today, but over the next 3 to 5 years, we're going to be doing the rest of the roofs of buildings here too. So
All right, all in favor of going out for the bid, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right, Joe.
can I also just say that I'm really pleased with the ME engineering group. They're a good group of people. They do good work. Just saying.
Okay, that's good to hear.
All right, we did moving grant money from 2020 to 2021. I've got CDBG grant monies and SAM grant monies left over in 2020 that need to be moved to 2021. The total is $128,000, 393, or I'm sorry, $128,393.
All right, can we have a motion that's on the,
I'm moving forward. My question is, Joe, would this not qualify to be in a capital project, so we don't have to move from year to year, or am I missing something? Maybe Al.
Nope, this is a simple operational grant, Brian.
Okay.
Daryl, do you second it?
Second.
Okay. All right, any other,
The project was supposed to be completed in 2020, but we had to hold things up because of a bad paving job, so it had to be moved into 2021.
okay. Any other discussion on this? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay,
Did I blow by my backfill position?
yeah, you went right on by that one.
Oh, how about that? Get me shuffling too many papers. That's what happened. I've got 2 vacancies here in the last month. A laborer left for a better paying job, and the account clerk is taking a position at personnel. So I'd like to be able to backfill both of those positions. Commissioners have not been notified about the account clerk, but I don't see it being an issue.
Okay, is there a motion to move it to personnel?
Motion.
Cassie moves it, Daryl seconds it.
Yep.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. I don't know if that's everything, Joe, or if you've got more.
I'll probably think of something 10 minutes after I get off, but right now that's all I got on the agenda, so that's all we're gonna do.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Morning, Deb.
Good morning. So first on the agenda today is removing the deputy position from the staffing pattern. The position wasn't included in budget talks this year. So I've been advised we have to remove it from our staffing pattern. So I don't know if you vote on that, or you just remove it, or you send it to personnel, or what you do.
It's personnel, right, Matt? Okay,
I'll move it.
Ryan moves it. Is there a second?
Second.
Daryl seconds, Paul seconds. Discussion.
Are we going after it again next year, Deb?
I think she's gonna
Possibly,
continue on.
depending on how we make it through the next line on the agenda.
Oh, okay. All right.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Go ahead, Deb.
So at budget time, you might remember I said that my hope is that if a candidate transpires, you'll reconsider financing that position, which brings me to the next line on the agenda. So I want to continue the discussion from last month about the staffing changes that I'm proposing for the department. I sent a draft of what the org chart would look like. First, I'd like to propose the position of the Public Works Manager. The position would eliminate the Highway Supervisor 3, and that would take on the duties of overseeing the engineering and shop maintenance departments, along with the current duties supervising the sign shop and highway crews. The position would also take an important role in preparing a DPW capital program and the annual budget. I propose that the position be a grade 20. The impact to the budget for 2021, assuming a start date of April 29th, is about $4,600 to the base pay. Fringe is additional. So what do you want to do? Talk about that?
What's the committee want? Do you feel this is gonna make your department more efficient, and if you're out, this person can actually oversee the other operations that are going on if you have to be out?
If we aren't both out at the same time, which we are right now, but if I were to be gone, there's nobody who could fill in right now. So I think it will help. I think that both of these positions, I don't know, maybe you want me to talk about the next one as well, would help the whole department move forward more efficiently, and it would give me the opportunity to do more stuff out in the field and research how we can save money through pavement preservation projects. I think it will also allow me to try to find more money for grants and stuff for our barns and our brining programs. So that's my goal, is to try to get the department to not only work more efficiently, but to save money.
Melissa?
And I just wanted to clarify, Deb, this is in lieu of you filling the deputy position, right? Because you've been trying to fill that deputy position, I believe, for about 2 years.
Yes.
Now, haven't been successful. So now you're looking to create the Public Works Manager in lieu of having the deputy.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Brian?
Well, I think the two positions are what you're trying to do in place of the deputy, I think is the way I got the story. That the two together takes all the duties that the deputy would have done, whereas the manager is doing all the deputy duties, but you will do some of those, and I don't know what the other position's called, but that's the way I understood it.
Why don't you go ahead, Deb, then, and talk about the other position too while we're discussing this.
Okay. So the next position is secretary to the superintendent of public works. It would be a new position. I believe that this position, the creation of this position will, I already talked about that, but it will that person will coordinate a public outreach campaign, including education, website, and social media communication. They will also perform the confidential aspects of the department working with the specific programs of drug testing and whatnot that we do for the county and for the towns, and monitoring the LENS program. That's a license monitoring program, so we don't have to run licenses anymore. We find out preemptively if something's gone wrong with them. And this person will also help to prepare bids in conjunction with the engineering department, the maintenance department, and purchasing. So I was proposing that position be a grade 13. And did you want like budgetary impacts now?
Might just as well go ahead.
So the Public Works Manager for 2021, assuming a start date of April 29th, is about 4,600 with base pay. I have fringe numbers. I can do base pay or base pay with fringe. Which would the committee prefer? Because I want to just do apples to apples and not throw a whole bunch of numbers out there and confuse anything.
Just give us both.
So together? Or
Yes.
separate? Huh?
Together.
Together? Okay. So the impact for the public works manager is 4,600 plus 350, so 4,950 for the 2021 remainder of the year, starting April 29th, assumed starting date. That includes fringe. The impact for the secretary to the superintendent of public works is $45,150. That also assumes a 4/29 start date, and it includes salary and fringe.
All right, Matt?
Yeah, I'll be the fly in the ointment, Deb, and this isn't about Deb or DPW. This is from a philosophical, procedural standpoint that I want to talk about this. The two things we're trying to do as far as personnel and budget the last few years is, number one, align the staffing pattern with the budget so that they all mesh together. Now, due to changes in the administration's office last year, the fact that the deputy was left in the staffing pattern but not budgeted for was an oversight. You need to take that out. I get that. But we try to keep those aligned. The other issue we've been working on since day one is trying to make sure we talk about staffing pattern changes consistently. And what we've told department heads, and Melissa, tell me if I'm wrong, but for the last year or two is bring them at budget time or bring them budget neutral. And if we just keep changing things in the middle of the year and getting budget impacts that A, affect us this year, and B, are baked into the cake for next year, then the budgeting process is all over the place 12 months of the year instead of looking at the big picture in September or October on what is the budget impact for next year total, and how do we factor all these things into here together. Now, I can see your point, Deb, that these are good ideas and they can help you, we can move forward, but I can't support it because we can't be having different departments bringing different things to us at different times of the year. We have a consistent way of doing things here, and I believe we should stick with it. And, budget time's the time to look at that stuff. That's, just the way I feel, and I may be the only one, but I think I want to hold to that pattern and make sure we're doing the right thing at the right time. And I'm not opposed to you doing these things. It's just there's a time and a place to do everything.
Dave?
So I partially agree with Matt that if new funding's coming into place, we should be looking at how is this going to be budget neutral. I mean, I know you need to reorganize, especially I think you had a loss of another person, key person, but, we need to make, I would be a lot more comfortable should this be budget neutral. And how are you going to pay for these? Reach into what fund to get this money?
Brian?
So, I appreciate everything everybody said because it does make it easier at budget time if we do things then. But here's the position I'm at, because I've always come from an area of fairness. We have a department head that was willing to give up a salary for a position last year and took it out of the budget, that if it was left in the budget, this would be a $35,000 savings and everybody could jump it up and down. That's great. That's the first thing. The second thing is we're going to get a state budget here pretty soon. We're going to get reconciled to 15%, so that's a 15% rollover in funding on last year's CHIPS money, plus there's new CHIPS money that they're talking about. We could be paving another 50% of what we paved last year. It's also a department we took $1.2 million from. I got to believe that there's no department head in this county that's going to come forward and complain that we gave one person to a committee that to a department that we decimated last year. And if they can show me that they'll save me 1.2 million, I'll give them a person. I guess that's where I would come from. I see this as more of an efficiency thing, right, when we're headed into a season where we're trying to accomplish more, a lot more than we've accomplished in a long time. So I can completely support this. I like the idea of thinking outside the box and finding a different way than just having a deputy. And so I hope it moves forward. I support it.
Anybody else with questions? Dan?
Yeah, Deb, when you got all done, I'm just a little confused. How many more people are going to be added to your department?
One.
You will add a person, okay, because I thought that you were eliminating, it sounded like you were eliminating some positions. What was the highway worker 3? Was that being eliminated? You mentioned that in the beginning. You mentioned something about a highway worker 3.
Oh, that's a highway supervisor 3.
Oh,
So-
highway. Go ahead.
Right. So right now, if you look at the chart that I sent out, there is someone who's in charge of engineering, someone who's in charge of highway, someone else who is in charge of maintenance, and another person in charge of the office staff. So in the past, and even if I'm out now, there's no one clear person to take over for me while I'm gone. So this would move one of those positions, the highway supervisor 3, to encompass most of those positions to be over them, but it would eliminate that position. So that's just, I guess you would consider that one an upgrade.
Okay, so you're gonna, I'm just, bear with me while I'm sorting out, because you've given me a lot of information and I find this very interesting. Your deputy, which you had requested in budgets on several occasions over the years, you're eliminating that, but at the one time that was budgeted as quite a sizable amount of money, was it not? You didn't find the right person?
Yep.
So really now what you're doing is you're eliminating that. You are going to add a person, which would have been added if you did find your deputy. And you're getting this accomplished for how much more a year from, or how much would you be saving by not having that deputy and budgeted in there? You're saving quite a bit of money, aren't you? And you're running your department as efficient, if not more efficient than what you originally asked for.
Right. So I don't have the exact number from that because I don't have the fringe for the deputy position, but it is around $30,000-ish for a total year that it would save by doing these 2 positions as opposed to just the deputy position.
And you think it'll work as good, if not better, correct?
Oh, I definitely do.
Yeah, I think I can support this. I mean, you're saving money, even though you're adding a person. I know it's in early into the year, but we've done it on every year that I know of, always added a person and find a place to come up with the money. So in this way, you're eliminating your request permanently for your deputy, saving money and running more efficiently in your department. And I know you've been struggling down there to do that. So I commend you on it. I can support this.
Okay, I've got several hands. I think, Matt, you were first.
Dan, the deputy position A does not exist in the budget. You're not saving money by cutting the deputy position out. It does not exist. It was not budgeted for. A, okay? It's a $50,000 hit for this year, and it's a baked-in $75,000 hit for next year. The question is, where's that money going to come from? Because it's not in the budget. The deputy position was removed last year from the budget. It should have been removed from the staffing pattern, but it wasn't. So there's no reason to discuss anything about a deputy. That does not exist.
That's not what I said, though. What I said was she had been requested the deputy in the past, and it was budgeted in the past. So her approach to this has always been to save money is what I'm saying. And even though she's come up with a different proposal partway into the year, I commend her for that approach. Not that I'm saying you're saving money. I'm saying the cost of it is way less than the original proposal from 2 years ago when it was budgeted.
Dana?
Deb and Matt, forgive me because I'm going to say the word deputy, but legally, I don't think anybody can act in your absence unless they have the title deputy. I mean, you say here that's going to be a manager, and if you're not there, they could act while you're not there. But I think legally only a deputy can act in your absence, and this is not a deputy. The other question I have, if I look at this organizational chart, the highway general supervisor, there's over 50 people under him and 10 different entities, if you include all the barns and the sign shop. You're gonna, in 2-3 years, you're gonna come back and say, you need to fill that position again. That's a lot of people underneath that position that you're now going to eliminate. How are you gonna handle that?
I'm trying to make it work as best I can for now. So I see your concern with that, Dana.
Well, all right, you say for now, Deb. Is the long-range goal then to also fill that slot of the general supervisor in the future? Because now you're talking a different net gain of people.
I haven't actually thought of doing that. I thought that it seems in the past that has sort of ebbed and flowed over different people for filling in. And hopefully somebody in the engineering department can move up to that and move that position possibly.
So there's another shoe to drop to all this.
Well, no, I was never considering creating another position. I was hoping that this one would work.
But in the staffing pattern, if that position is eliminated, back to Matt's point, it's no longer there. And then if you say you need somebody to be the general foreman, you're creating a new position, even though it was there 2 years ago. It's not there anymore. I just wonder about the legacy, because when I see the organizational chart and I see that highway general supervisor removed, I'm looking, you need that person. And I don't see how you're going to make this be successful without somebody there.
Kathy?
I think that the way that, Deb can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the way the department works already, that your general foreman is working on a day-to-day basis with engineering and a day-to-day basis with the shop. And I think they already have a good handle on that. And I think there's already communication already open. And I don't really see this as a big leap for him for that position to take on these additional duties, because I think they already work hand in hand to begin with. And I think if I understood the way Deb was speaking, I believe it sounds like she's looking already at the staff she has, hoping to have a person to be ready to fill this position at the time, is the way I took her statement. You know, like somebody's coming up, she can find an employee that will be able to move up when the current person, when the new person retires.
That's
I think it
accurate.
would work. And I think it's a good idea. And I think hanging ourselves on the fact that the position does not sit in the budget for this 2021 year isn't a fair judgment, when at the time, if this person steps up and gives up the money to help balance the budget, but also says at the time, I will need to revisit it, then comes up with a plan to make the department more efficient and is going to net out less dollars in the end, I don't have a problem with it. I think it was well thought out and a good idea. And in the end is a net savings to the department. So I support it.
Sue?
Deb, looking ahead, I mean, looking back, it's been a crazy year. And I often wondered, if you were out, who was going to take your position. I think that would probably be Sam, right? Or Bob. And there are times that probably the Barnes probably would have, I'm sure Sam or Bob would have done a fine job, but they're kind of busy already. So whether it's a deputy or somebody second in charge, it's not a bad idea right now. just so that they know the position and they can call you at home or be on site or whatever, just to have a plan A and a plan B. It's not a bad idea. I kind of look optimistically at this as this next year and the year after as being a building year. But in order to be a building year, as we all know, it takes about 3 steps ahead before you actually put feet on the ground. And looking at grant money and looking at how to spend incoming money seems like a good plan. If you have more free time to be able to do that and do this efficiently, I think the county will be further ahead. So I support your move, and I like the way that Cassie always presents it. She does a much better job than I do, but this makes sense to me. So thank you for thinking ahead. And I guess it's our job to figure out how to make it work. So thank you.
So, Deb, you have this position. Is this a salary position?
No.
Managing that many people, how can this not be a salary position? I mean, I got a concern about that. I mean, he raised his salary, going to raise his overtime also. He's going to be working more overtime. I really went from on the fence to against this because I can't see adding more hours to a person that is going to have a lot of overtime created in this, and that's not going to be fair to the county. What you're looking for is a deputy in a different term. And that's not fair the way we're shuffling this around.
Yeah, the general supervisor already supervises the majority of the people. And
yeah, but we're trying to build a position for a person, not build a position for the position. And that's not right.
oh no, I'm not doing that.
Well, it looks like you are.
Well, that was not my intention.
Well, for all intents and purposes, that's what it looks like.
I have Matt, and then I have Brian after that.
I just want to be clear that my opposition is to adding to the staffing pattern, and this second position in charge is only it's only $5,000 of the $50,000 hit this year, and only $7,000 of the $75,000 hit next year. It's the adding the position in the administration where the big money is, and that's my opposition there. The other position is much more minor, I believe, from an impact standpoint.
Brian?
Well, let's look at this a little differently then. In the position that the general foreman is moving to, it works exactly the same way as the one he's moving to, so there's no difference. They get paid overtime doing the same things. So that's not even, I see Dave's concern, but it's no different than what he's doing now is the way he gets paid. So that really doesn't change. He's just getting paid at a higher level to work that overtime. The price of overtime won't be any different than it would be as a general foreman. No reason why it could or couldn't be. Right? So that I don't see a big difference in. The second thing is, if the savings is total over the deputy compared to the 2 positions, that means that if you don't do this now and you put a deputy in next year, the deputy would cost more next year than these 2 positions cost next year. It's still a savings in next year if we were going to go with a deputy this fall.
Why are you talking about 2 years ago and next year? We're talking about now.
No, you were.
Budget year 2021.
You said you didn't want to do this till budget time, so you compared it till next year. You just went there as what it was going to cost next year.
If, you said if next year. If next year we talk
Well,
about, we don't know. We
I don't
find out
know
about
about
budget
here,
time.
but I think it's coming. But anyway, I'm just saying, the difference is the savings next year if you had a deputy next year compared to doing this year. There's still a savings.
You don't have a deputy. You don't have a deputy. It does not exist.
The deputy position exists. We haven't removed it yet. So it's person for person. It's not even an increase in staff. It's an increase in numbers of dollars. If you want to, draw straws on that, that's okay. I'm just saying that's where we're at.
Any other comments? John?
Let's not worry about the pay right now. Let's worry about, is there anybody capable of filling that managerial position for all the positions there?
Is there anybody capable of doing that? Yes, I believe so. I mean, my intention with all of this was for everybody to work together. I just thought that this was going to work better than the deputy that I don't have, because I don't have a deputy and I'm trying to do the best I can to make the department work as best it can. So that was my intention.
So there, you have somebody in mind that you feel can handle that new managerial position.
Yes.
Melissa?
So the highway supervisor 3, Deb, that position is actually, usually we upgrade, right? It's upgrading, promoting to the public
Yes.
works manager position.
Yep.
So your highway supervisor 3, those duties are going to roll into the public works manager position, right? That person's still going to perform those duties plus some additional duties, which is what's justifying the public works manager title and the additional pay.
Right. And I should probably point out that this is quite a transition time for our department, because the person who's in charge of engineering is planning to retire in August. And the person who is in charge of the shop has recently resigned. So it actually plays into it very well for knowledge and communication to have the highway supervisor 3 move to that position.
Dana, did you have your hand up?
Yes. Deb, this organizational chart,
Yep.
there's no way this new position is not considered administrative. No way. This is black and white. This proves it, no matter what the dialogue is. I've never heard of somebody that's in an administrative position be hourly.
Okay, so that's what you're saying, is that if you're in an administrative position, then it can't be an hourly position. It has to be a salaried position.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Well, I've never heard of it otherwise.
Let's let Melissa weigh in on this. She's the expert.
Well, the public works manager position is not currently on the title by grade schedule. So it would have to be added somewhere. If you wanted it to be hourly, it would have to go on the title by grade. If you'd like it to be a salary position, it could be added to the exempt salary schedule. So I think it could go either way. And yes, usually those type of positions are considered exempt salary.
Any job can be an hourly job. In order to be an exempt job, you have to meet the exempt salary test, part of which is the duties in the administration. But if you meet the test, that doesn't mean you have to make that person salary.
Do we have anybody in the county that is hourly that would be in this type of position?
I'm not saying that's a policy decision you have to make after you determine whether or not the position meets the requirements to be the test to be exempt. So the rule is everybody's hourly unless you find somebody who meets the test, at which point you can then decide whether or not to make them salaried/exempt.
Okay.
So you're right in a way, but I think you articulated a broader rule, Mr. Haff, that said you can't be hourly if you're in this job. And the answer is yes, you can, but you don't have to be if you meet the test.
All right, thank you.
Dave, you had your hand
So I
up.
want to get back to the question, is part of this, Deb, is to have someone to fill in for you and make decisions for you when you're gone. I think that, if I remember correctly, there's a lot of duties, because I think we had this discussion before, that only a deputy could make if the highway DPW superintendent is gone. Is that true, Roger?
So you don't necessarily need a deputy. What you need is you can leave, like you go on vacation or whatever, you can leave standing orders, which is this is what you're entitled to deal with. This, and then say, and if you get something that's outside these parameters, then call me and I'll make the decision for you. That's honestly what a deputy should be doing. A deputy's job isn't to figure out what they do when the principal's not there. It's to figure out what the principal would do if the principal's not there. And if they can't figure that out, to call them and ask. So when I was in the military as a nice old guy running the command post at night, I didn't say, well, hey, I'm in charge tonight. I think we'll do this, this, and this. I had to figure out the commander's intent and then tell him what was going on. Or, if I couldn't figure that out and I didn't have the orders, I had to call and ask. So you can do that without a deputy. It's just a deputy can sign things, can do all kinds of things. And, a public works manager wouldn't necessarily be signing contracts in Deb's absence. They'd hold them. But, we already designate the authority to sign payroll and vouchers and other documents internally for every department. Whether a deputy or not.
Kathy?
I think it seems like we're getting a little too bogged down in the administrative part. I think it's more of an overseer who's going to handle the on-the-fly decisions of, there's a paving project and there's something going wrong. The general foreman handles that already, so this public works manager could handle that. Or if there's somebody knows what's going on in all the departments and can make a decision. I think we're getting too heavy into deciding deputy or administrative. I think what you need is a person who can do the job. And Debbie has found a title that's going to make it so the person does the job she needs. I think you guys are getting off base a little bit. I mean, the basic goal of our job is to make sure the county runs efficiently, and this seems like a plan to make the county run efficiently. I think if he was a true deputy, he would oversee every department, and it's not going to oversee every department for Deb. He's only overseeing the public works on the boots on the ground aspect of it. I think we're getting a little off base, but that's just my 2 cents.
Daryl, I had you.
Yeah, sorry, mute button. A lot of good discussion, and I know we're educating ourselves about the details. To Cassie's point, perhaps conceptually we need, maybe our body should agree that a change is needed, but the details perhaps are better suited for a personnel discussion and then subsequently a finance discussion as to whether or not we can resource the requirement. I don't think the consensus, I think what I'm feeling anybody, not to speak for anybody in particular, is that we agree there is a need to reorganize within the construct of what we've been discussing, but the exact title, the exact characterization of the position, hourly or salaried, and then whether or not it fits into the budget is kind of out of the scope of our committee. Thank you.
Wait a minute, Bob had a question.
Yeah, just stepping back to a more technical thing that somebody, I think, has brought up before. If Deb was run over by a Mack truck or put on grand jury for 6 months or something like that, this manager could not be in charge of the department doing all the signing and stuff. That would fall back onto the chairman. Is that correct, Roger?
Yeah, that would be correct. For a long-term absence, or even a resignation, you'd have to find somebody to act, whereas a deputy would act in the absence of the principal. So if Deb was to resign or quit, whatever, a deputy would act just as if he or she was Deb until you appointed a replacement. A public works manager would have a limited scope. They could supervise the day-to-day activities, but any policy decisions or anything else would be required to be made at a different level, probably the chairman.
Well, we've been through this. Did we do this with an interim the last time?
Well, I think that it looks like this position is going to be fairly good in terms of efficiency for the department. Just that one thing we're lacking is with that deputy title, and I'm not sure that's necessarily a big deal. I don't care if Sam has to do it.
It's a short-term. It's a short-term versus long-term question, quite frankly.
Right.
A short-term like a 2-week vacation or something like that, you can keep things running for 2 weeks. And if you need something, call me. If I'm not there for whatever reason or incommunicado, then there would have to be some kind of interim operative authority that a public works manager wouldn't have, because they would be limited to the scope of their job. And the scope probably won't include acting in the absence of the superintendent, because that's a deputy's job.
I've been there.
Right.
Dave?
So I get back to, if we're gonna do this, let's do it right so that we don't burden the chairman. If someone leaves and is gone, it takes us 4 to 6 months to fill a position sometimes. And then gonna shift a big burden on the chairman of the board. I mean, we should try and mitigate that so there isn't a problem in the future. And that's my opinion, but it just seems to me we're crafting a position for a person when we had a position that worked, and we should fill that position.
Well, remember, you're already acting on or using an acting title over in the annex there before you create a new public health director. So there's precedence for creating an acting title. Should there be a long-term disability resignation, something like that, you could still use that avenue to relieve the chairman of that burden, should you wish to do that.
I still want to move with the personnel.
Okay,
The clarification, move what?
you're moving the 2 positions to
Both
personnel.
positions, yes.
Okay, that's your motion. You're moving the 2 positions to personnel. Is there a second for that motion? Daryl seconds it. Is there any more discussion before we vote? Kathy?
I still have a hesitation of moving it to, are we moving it to personnel with support? Or are you moving it to personnel because you're throwing your hands up and the committee isn't making a decision?
I think it has to go to personnel.
It has to go to personnel anyway, but the committee
Right.
supporting it.
We would be
We're
supporting the
supporting
move.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you wouldn't move it if you didn't want to support it. That would, you'd kill it here, so it wouldn't get the
I know.
personnel.
I support it, but I've seen things go to personnel before with you're only a small committee and have it shot down because it's weighted with the wrong way. But yes, I want it to go to personnel with support for the position.
Okay. So Dana?
I can move this to personnel without knowing if I support it or not. More knowledge needs to be gained. I don't think you cast your lot right now. I wouldn't. I would I would make support moving this to personnel, but I don't say I support it. I don't say I don't support it. I need to know more.
Okay, we have a motion, the second. All in favor of moving it to personnel? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we have 1 opposed. So it's going to personnel, and we will approach it again, Deb.
Okay. So did everyone get the miscellaneous bid awards to look over?
Yes? No? No, nobody else. I finally got them this morning, but nobody else got them, I guess.
Oh, that's right.
What time?
So we send out a whole bunch of miscellaneous bids, including culvert pipe, guide rail, galvanized rebar, ungalvanized rebar. There's 33 sheets of it. Last year, we sent it to board for resolution because we weren't meeting. This year, we have discussed it and decided that that was we wanted to get your decision actually on what was a good way to go with it, because if it goes over $50,000, it has to go to full board. This just kind of covers everything. I didn't know if that was what you guys wanted to do.
I think in years past on this committee, we've moved it all in one group, right? Just,
I believe we have.
and I'm sorry that this stuff didn't get out for everybody to look through, but we'll get it to you again so that if it has to be brought up in finance or something, or would it be? I don't know. Probably wouldn't.
I would just move it to finance so everybody can see it. That way there's nothing hidden.
Okay.
Okay.
So you're making a
I'll
motion.
move it to finance.
Okay. Cassie seconds it.
Second.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. Next step.
All right, so you worked me into 2 more committee meetings, correct? Personnel and finance.
Well, it's just so everybody can look over the bid sheets, but, you know, just.
Yep. So next up, I believe, was a paving update, which I wanted to do, but I don't have all my papers from the office. It looks like it changes kind of from day to day still, but it looks like we're gonna get more pave money. It looks like we're gonna get all of our chips back, but that's just what it looks like now. Hopefully in a couple of days, we'll know for sure because the budget will hopefully get passed. I wanted to send out where we plan to pave so that if that benefited the towns in any way, we could have discussions about that. But that's really all I have for paving update right now. Did anybody have any questions on it?
Dana?
I believe in the last shared services report that came out from Sue, that it addressed this. And last year, Hartford said that we would be the guinea pig to try this. Hartford still plans on trying this. So a lot more needs to be discussed, but I'd like that to be the plan because Hartford certainly is planning on using county forces. We would pay the material, but we would do a shared services for whatever labor. We would use our trucks to haul paving to county roads and other towns around, but I think that can easily be worked out. But town of Hartford is looking forward to trying this experiment, and I think it'll work. But we need to start making concrete plans if we're going to or we're not going to.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, go ahead, Deb.
No, I was going to move on to the next thing. Is there anything else? No? Okay. So the next thing that I have is a request to backfill the shop supervisor who recently left us.
Is there a motion to move that to personnel?
Move it to personnel.
Motion.
Moved by Kathy, second by Daryl. Any discussion? Second by Paul. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
The last thing I have is that I have 2 weeks of vacation left that will expire on May 10th. I was hoping to roll it over. I didn't know if you guys would allow me to do that or not. Yes, thank you. I appreciate that.
Where do we have to move it? I don't have a problem with it.
Do we have to move it, Deb, or?
Yes.
We do. Move it
Okay,
to
so
council.
Kathy moved it, Brian seconded it,
I'll second it.
second. Oh. Any discussion? Matt?
There's usually a time frame involved, that's all, as I remember in the past.
Yep.
Like 3 months.
You have 3 months to do it, Deb, this is what we're checking on
I
here.
haven't got it in here.
We have to check on it.
Whatever it says.
Whatever's in the handbook.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Listen,
Move it
yeah,
to-
this would be moved to personnel for
Okay.
final approval. Yeah,
that's what your
and then it would
motion
have to
was,
be used within 3 months.
right? Okay. So we have motion to move it to personnel. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. All right, Deb.
That's all I have today. Thanks for all the fun conversation.
There was I have a C on here, discussion on the electric charging.
Yeah, so the quotes aren't all in yet. They actually, the quote we had, they came in less on the make-ready work as it was designed. But because we're going back to National Grid to see, it might be a better system if we don't go through the building and we actually do it outdoors. So we're waiting on National Grid's planner, and I guess I'd bring it to finance if that's okay with everyone. If once the National Grid planner comes and we can, because if we just do all this to run power through the bottom of the building, when we can actually just do it outside, it doesn't make a lot of sense. So that's kind of where we're at on that.
John?
You say do it outside, does that mean they'll be set on meters on your own?
No, it just means the electric will be moved outside. Instead of going through the building, it just, the lines would be high lines, I guess, or buried, one or the other.
I'm just wondering if NIMO could set pole somewhere close and
They
meter those
may,
separate.
that's what we're waiting to see is how they would do it, and I don't know enough about what they do or how they do it to really speak to that. We'll see what they come back with.
All right, so you'll have more in finance, and you're the chair of finance, so you can bring it to it, so I don't know if we need a motion.
I'll just put Dave in charge.
Sir, anything else that we need to bring for the committee? Well, go ahead, Dan.
Yes, I talked to Melissa yesterday, and this is about the shared services grant and the highway barns that we might go in together, partner on. And I asked her, and she was going to look into it. And I was wondering, is there a $200,000 grant for shared services that the town gets, and then also a $200,000 grant that the county gets for shared services if we do a barn together? Is that up in the air, or is that a definite? And I thought maybe Brian might be up to speed.
Ask the governor, because all those things change and then percentages come out. I mean, so we don't know if it's a definite. We know it's an up to 200,000, but I wouldn't ever bank on anything the governor's got right at the moment. But I think Deb wants to speak.
Well, Debbie and Melissa both want to, so go ahead, Melissa.
I did reach out to Laura Oswald after talking to Supervisor Shaw. She is looking into it a little bit more. The way I understand it, it is part of a grant where the funds probably will be eligible for some amount. Obviously, there's no guarantee to that. I know you wanted that included in the letter that you'll take to your board by your town meeting. I don't know. You said it was beginning of May, I believe. But after speaking to Laura, I think she's going to get me the information today. I'll finalize the letters and I'll get it out to you by the end of the week at the latest.
Thank you, Melissa.
You're welcome.
Did you have a comment, Deb?
No, that's exactly what I was going to say, because Laura was relatively confident that that would be funded, but you know, that could change any day as well.
Well, Cassie and Sue and I were wondering when the funding was going to come through from our shared service on buying the hot box between 6 towns. And Chris wrote that up a year ago, and we haven't seen anything yet, have we, Sue? It's housed here. I don't know if that gives you a lot of faith in down the road on other projects.
Well, I'm glad you brought that hot box up, because we were able to borrow it from you guys who bought it, and that thing is a great asset to the county, to the towns, to the county. The guys just loved that thing. So thanks for letting us use it.
Well, our guys I know like it too, and I know Salem does, but I kind of sold it to my board there that we were going to get some kickback here, and it hasn't come yet. So.
And when you consider our project wasn't a huge dollar amount and we can't even get funded, I really worry about the big dollar projects. Just saying. I mean, really, ours wasn't a ton of money. It was money back to us, but Cuomo at his finest.
Okay, anybody else have anything? I just want to thank you all for the good discussion that we've had, and we'll go forward and figure this out down the road. All right, thank you.
Thanks.